Matt, welcome to the set. Welcome to the studio. We're kicking off our technology series. Let's tour of the EventConnect system. You and I get the responsibility and awesome job to talk about all the features in EventConnect each and every day. We want to take the opportunity to dive deeper into some of our favorite features and highlight them to everybody of what EventConnect has to offer. So thanks for joining, and today we're going to kick it off with the Manage Events page. I know a place that you and I spend a lot of time in with our partners, so excited to jump into it.
Yeah, awesome, Brandon. Yeah, appreciate you jumping in on this, and I think it's a good segment to really speak to the power of the system, and you reflect on this, and there's a little history here when you go back on it.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Manage Events page, we're gonna dive deep into it into a minute, but at a high level, when I pull this page up, I think about how you and I really started to talk about this page for our partners 8 years ago. Right from when it started. This is you say it all the time on calls, the magic of the system. So give me your high level on it, what you like about it for our partners.
Yeah, well, to your point, I still remember the day. It's probably close to 9 years ago. We built the solid one event, and then you'd have a dashboard. As we started to grow with our partners, they'd have each event on our homepage. And then there was the challenge of we need to wrap this all up. So we created back then, as we got more larger clients running multiple events, they needed that one page to go. I think I've used God's level view, you've said macro view. And that's really where it all started, is there needed to be a place to summarize all this information in one spot to really have as a jumping off spot. On this, to me, there's kind of a lot of different types of clients. We have partners that are volunteer driven, right? And I think from their sake, this can help them, especially going through it with you today, of one spot to look. They're busy with their day jobs, but they need to quickly have a pulse check on their events. The second area is some of our large clients, right? This is their CRM in a way. This is where they need to pull specific information. They can't necessarily get into the weeds, which of course we can get into at the event level and as you start to speak to the cloning later today. So those are the two things I think really stick out, is how this can just power everything up. And I'll say the third thing is just reflecting on this, and I'm sure we'll get into it a bit today, but when you start to put on these feature toggles, it shows how deep the system is and how we continue to add to it, and there's a different report every partner needs, but should be very proud, in my opinion, that we can provide it in real time, right? This is not a spreadsheet anymore, and they can get this important information, because I think we always joke, every client's a little different.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And you touched on some great points there of, we recognize there is many different types of clients in our system. There is those volunteer board-based organizations that are looking for that one-stop shop and, hey, give me what's going on with the event and let's keep moving forward. We have a lot of other things to get done in our day. And then we have that organization, that the more business-minded organizations in the system that are relying on this to go into that board meeting and have those numbers that are accurate and something that we can report on into those meetings to continue to drive their businesses forward. And I think that's been a really cool evolution of the product, but staying true to being able to really offer both sides of the system for every level of partnership.
Absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think from there, I think that as we talk about how the system is so flexible for every partner, I think about how this page can be set up. So let's jump a little bit into the setup of this page, and then we'll get into the numbers. But from a setup standpoint, I always like to talk about two things. There's when we load those events in, we might need to be able to organize it in a way that works for us, right? And you mentioned we're getting our partners out of spreadsheets. People love the drop downs, the way they can pivot a spreadsheet around. And I would argue that this Manage Events page has all those features and more. So walk me through some of that. Let's start with maybe Manage Tags.
Yeah. I think there's two areas we can set up. So obviously very easy to build out an event, clone the events, but from a perspective of easily organizing, giving people different access, there's the tags feature. Common partners, I've seen this. We have facilities using this to tag their baseball events versus their hockey events. So that's been very common here. That obviously gives different usage to different people. and they just need to report on their hockey events, as we mentioned. So the tags is something I believe we're starting to see more and more used, especially with the amount of events. The more events you have in, I think my rule of thumb is if you get over 4 or 5 events, strongly encourage you to consider using the tags just so you can have that easy reporting and filtering.
Yeah, and on that too, another kind of fork in the road of should I use tags or not is how many employees or staff do you have working in the EventConnect system? I've been seeing the tags useful for kind of that division of work. So it's like, hey, I'm going to tag these certain events to Matt and these ones to Brandon. And why that works so well, and we'll see here in a minute, is you can just see your events. So we're seeing kind of the 2 different avenues or questions to ask yourself is, number one, do I have maybe different buckets or sport types that I want to separate out? And then do I have different staff members that are responsible for specific events that we want to see in a very high level, quick way?
Smart.
So also I notice, we'll notice on this when we look, we see the little lock feature. How do our users or partners use that lock feature tag?
Sorry, you're probably best to explain that.
So this is a cool feature because we're talking about the tags on the inside, kind of inside the organization, but these tags can also be used outside for their end users. So when we get into talking about using the multi-event listing page on EventConnect, that some partners will post on their website so that their teams can go on and see all of the events in one page, you can also use tags for that. So giving your user experience an elevated look and a quicker way to filter into events that might mean something more to them than the others. Again, to your point, Matt, it's when you get over that 5, 6 events, we need to start to narrow the focus, and that's what the tags are there to do. And that little lock button allows us to do it both inside and outside the organization. Cool. So yeah, so before we move out of this area, this little modal of the managing event tags, let's create a quick one together. So talking about like the example of an organization where we want to split our events. We own a bunch of events together. So I'm going to create a tag. I'm going to say Brandon's events. So we just type that in there. We're going to hit the plus button. That allows us to create the tag. Now in this scenario, I would not want the public to see that they're Brandon's events. Right. So I'm going to lock that one, make that private. We do want our end users to see what ones are regional events versus national events for when they're registering. So we're going to keep those as public in this scenario. So now as I close out of that, the next kind of step of how our partners would use this is in terms of setup is going to be organizing their events with those tags. And in this view, we can see that we've already started. We have our regional and our national events tagged. But now that we've created that new tag, let's quickly jump in and tag an event to be Brandon's event here. And how we're going to do that, so just jump right into the event. We go under event setup into settings. And it is controlled under what we call our relationships area of the settings. And we're going to go in and we can tag to Brandon's events. We will notice here, a lot of partners love this aspect, is you can have multiple tags. That's going to be a key difference when we break down tags versus regions, which we'll get into in a minute. And so being able to put multiple tags on the events really, again, allow for that organization to just in your back office to go at a different level. So once we hit save here and we jump back to our manage events page, now we're going to see that there's an additional tag there. And when we hover over, we can see both regional and Brandon's event. And then the last piece is, like we talked about, is as our partners get in there and start really using the organizational stuff that they've created or structure that they've created, they're going to go into filter by tag, and now we can see, let's go. We want to see just our regional events, and we'll hit search, and there's our regional events there. So that's really how the tags come to life in that back office when we set it up, and again, create that nice workflow and structure for our partners.
Yeah, as you're going through that, I'm thinking of 2 specific examples where you have the event owners have sales staff that are helping them drive up registrations. So they're accountable to, I'm sure in their numbers, hit 100 registrations. Well, where can they easily see how that staff member is doing, or even that staff have the visibility? So I've seen that done. And then there's also some great partners, you see these tagged where they're helping us drive those hotel room nights, that there is someone on their side that, hey, I'm going to lean in with the account manager at EventConnect, and we're going to continue to work together, collaborate on what are those best strategies to drive the growth. So, as you go through that, it's like it really can be a great strategy to help us grow either registrations, revenue in terms of hotels, or that registration side.
Yeah, and to further that point, these tags have allowed both that organization and then our inner sales staff and team to really be connected. So, typically our partners are used to jumping on with our account managers and having those weekly chats. But these tags have allowed our account managers to even get their account coordinators involved and really bring it to another level of team sales strategies that occur in the event. And you might be sitting there asking like, well, how does that happen, or how does that work? These tags really allowed our team in this scenario to focus on 5 events per week, and both organizations be so connected in the moment. And we know how fast this can go sometimes, and that level of connection and organization in the back office really allowed both teams to be kind of pulling the rope in the same direction, and increasing that reservation per travel team very quickly in a short period of time.
Very cool.
Cool. Awesome. Well, as we transition out of tags, I do have to drop a little teaser for everyone on this, is that, as you can see, we're pretty excited about tags, and I've been actually overusing that word, I think, in the last 60 days, because tags are going to be coming on so many other reports in the system. So for our partners that are already comfortable using it at that managed events level, the good news for them is they're going to be well-trained experts, and they're going to see it on many other reports. And then for our partners or prospects that don't have access to these tags yet, I think this is a feature that, as we continue to grow it in other areas of the software, it's going to be something that you want to make sure you're using and taking advantage of. Amazing. All right. Well, that's tags. Let's. There's another area or way to organize the back office, and I know you use this a lot. So jump into regions for me.
Yeah. So regions is probably where my brain goes more. Regions was created shortly after we started this managed events page 9 years ago. It started with the idea of, you think of regions as geographical. So you'd have your West Coast events, your East Coast, and I only want to give my West Coast director access to the West ones. Again, I've seen this used in more ways. Regions can be used by sport, by who's responsible, by easily filtering the page so the West Coast can only see the West Coast events. But that's really where that started, as an organizational flow, especially when you have the large client that has different people working on different events. So from an organization workflow, that owner of the business, the people in charge of it all, they need that macro view, but they're going to want to quickly differentiate. Let's keep to the geographical, how their East Coast business is doing compared to their West Coast. So regions, yeah, we use that word, but I mean, I've started to see that, especially we bring on different clients in different ways, by sport type, if they were running different sports. And that's how we can continue to report, and then maybe get into reporting like, how's my hockey reservations per traveling team doing versus my baseball, knowing there's different metrics there.
Cool. So for that event owner that has that specific staff member assigned to a region, can you walk me through how I would set that up and what that would look like for them?
Yeah, so we'll start here with under the users and roles on the left-hand side here.
Yeah.
Manage regions. This is where you can see here we have set the east, north, south, west. You'll see how many events they are tied to. But if we wanted to, for example, add a new region, pretty easy here. We could call this the southeast, for lack of a better one. And this is where we can start to assign specific people to this. So you could assign your Southeast director to this. That way they will now have permission to just those events. So when they log in, they would see only the Southeast events from their visualization of the system.
Perfect. So awesome. So we got the 5 divisions, and as you mentioned, we can attach a specific user to that division, and they only see that division. So where would I go to kind of finish that process out?
So if you go back into the manage users, let's say you're responsible for the Southeast. We don't want to let you have access to anything else. We'll put you on there. If you want to scroll down here to the edit, assign there, sorry, and then down to, you'll have your drop down that we just created, your Southeast, and we can assign you as that user.
Perfect. Cool. And since we're in this area, I will touch on quickly too, your ability, our event owner's ability to go in and really dial in their permissions for each user. So not only is it just the Southeast division, but we could say, or so Southeast region, we could say Brandon's only going to be looking at the manage events page and kind of block everything else out. So we can get really specific, and a lot of our partners know too, beyond the region attachment, you can get down to that event level as well and attach users just to the event if ever needed. So
yeah, it's a great point. It kind of speaks to the left-hand side of the system here of, it's overwhelming, especially at first, of how many different areas our system can help our partners or new partners with. When it gets into, you just saw how it can manage umpires if it wants to. Yeah. But we can turn that down to limit the focus so that we keep, your staff or volunteers driven on what you want them to have access to. But it's also cool to see everything the system technically could do for your business.
Awesome. All right, well, I mean, that's an awesome overview of how we use that manage events page in terms of setting it up. And I think getting a really strong foundation for our partners. Where I want to move us to next is as we move partners out of the onboarding stage, we set their events up, and we start talking that strategic component of our weekly calls through the event lifecycle. How do we use that manage events page? And kind of what we're talking about is helping the partners grow their business, their events year over year.
Yeah, I think it really all starts, and I'll take it back a little step with the onboarding and closer to the go live, is we even hear it from the new partners. What's some of the challenges that you have? And it's not having that visibility. Does EventConnect have enough rooms contracted? Does their current housing provider have enough rooms contracted? What is truly happening with the event? So that's where I see it starting off as a great spot. Is we might see some goose eggs in the traveling team numbers or the room nights, but we can quickly see how many rooms are approved. And we're all speaking the same language. We're all seeing the same information. We can say, we know we're looking to get 3,000 rooms on peak. What percentage are we towards this? Where I love this is, obviously, as I mentioned, the transparency, but it's we're all on the same page. It's the same thing that our hotel contract specialist team's seeing, getting those numbers up. It's the same thing the event owners have access. We're not asking for spreadsheets to go back and forth, the numbers out of date within 5 minutes, or they're trying to pull a report they send 3 days later. So I think from just the appreciation that new partners can have of having that full understanding of what's going on with the event really sets everyone up for way better success.
Totally agree. And we're going to see that as we dive deeper into this report here. One of the things I always lead out with our partners is, and this is true for every report across the system, is the default view that you load up is only about 5 data points. It looks pretty basic when you jump on here. There's really 2 intentions behind that. Number one is we don't ever want to overwhelm yourself with too much data, right? So we're displaying kind of those key metrics that if you just load this up, look at this, you're going to have an idea of what's going on with your event, and you might be good to go here. And then the other component is we push our partners to kind of go in and customize the report that they want to see so that it's a quick load time and they're really seeing the data that they're looking for.
It's so true. Like, there's a million things going on with events. Let's call it, like, you got your registration revenue. You have things such as how many games are scheduled. Obviously, the hotel component is mission critical here. Complimentary rooms. How many rooms were you going into the weekend? How many actualized after when we reconcile the room nights? There's just so many toggles onto this, and every partner is going to need something different at a different journey. But we know we can roll that up here off this page.
And that's such a good point, is that different part of the journey. So that event life cycle, the same partner that we're going to work with through that event life cycle is going to look at this report 8 different ways from start to finish. At the start, we're worried about how many rooms are contracted. Do we have enough rooms compared to our projected traveling teams? And then as we go through are we selling enough rooms? And do we have too many unaccommodated travel teams? And again, where you're at in the event lifecycle is going to determine what you want on this report, which again speaks to why we start as a default. But here I keep teasing it, so let's just jump into it. Why behind the select fields button there is all of these data points.
Yeah, and on this, I recall again, if we're going back in memory, 8-9 years ago when we created this, there was probably 7 or 8 other parts that we knew we had to expose. As we grow with our clients, as our clients ask for different areas, these are all the different points during the journey you need. So the select fields, this again is if you're only looking for certain sport types. You can see all the different options here. The common block durations, that gets into the event settings, but from that high level view, you may want to be checking on these areas right at the start.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, when you work with clients that have 30 plus events, not every event's going to need the exact same system setup, or like, for example, block duration or block timer. So there's so many settings that for our partners to try to get in and view those on an event level, we understood the need to bring that to that macro level. Yeah. So we're always doing our best to find what data points need to come up to this view so that partners can continue to have a quick look and making sure that their events are set up for success.
Yeah, exactly. Another example that just sticks out to me is we had a partner in the last year significantly scale. They added on 25 events. They had a great growth plan. But they had other staff responsible for it. So there's some key things here that they wanted to make sure were set up, i.e. what was their stay and play distance? Was that set up properly? They put a lot of new responsibility on new staff, but they still had that control to have access to everything to make sure it was set up properly and they had their stamp of approval on it, so to speak, without having to dive into every single button.
Right, so great example here. If I'm looking at I want to see the state of play distance per event, and that's it. Like, let's get rid of the rest of the noise in this case. We're going to turn those 2 data points on, hit select fields, and just like that, we're able to see that these 3 events are set up within an 80 mile state of play distance.
Yeah. Another example that sticks out to me, I saw it there, was the convenience fee. That is with respects to registration. So are they going to, the credit card comes through our registration system, are they going to put that 3%, 4%? They can control that, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
They can put that onto their client. Sometimes they have a different percentage they want to offer. Sometimes they want to bake that into their cost. And that's something you want to give the client full transparency. So we're not missing anything. Nothing's worse than, one of their staff members putting it at 0% and the finance team want it to be set at 3%. We could have a significant gap, especially when you have 400 or 500 team tournaments coming through the system.
Such a great point, and I think it's all the learnings over the years where we found, those potential gaps that we now have the reporting on. That it's very easy for partners to feel like when an event goes live, they've done all their checks and balances, and it doesn't take hours to do, but it's a quick check of the managed events report, and they're good to go.
Yeah, I think this is an area that maybe it's great we're doing this video to make sure clients know this is here or new clients have it, because you don't have to go into the weeds on every single event, and you can have that confidence that we have it here rolled up for you.
Amazing. Yeah. So I'm having fun filtering this report around. We're always talking about our internal key metric of reservations per travel team, and we're always pushing internally to increase that for all of our partners. But when our account managers and onboarding team jump on and start training our partners on how to have that conversation and increase reservation per travel team, what's the report or the data points that you typically see the team turn on this report?
Yeah, so on that side, we'll now get into more like the paid reservations. It might be nice to see, for example, in my opinion, how many traveling teams have entered the system.
Yeah.
Where it could be talking reservations per traveling team, but we don't have any teams in there yet, or we haven't hit our peak registration. So my advice there would definitely be to have the traveling teams on and a bit more ammo behind the registrations. As you've alluded to, underpaid reservations, that reservations per traveling team. And just so we're all on the same page there, that is how many traveling teams have entered the system that are past that stay and play distance of 80 miles in the example we showed here, and how many room nights, regardless of the team, have booked through the system. So this is giving you, if you probably put this report on, Brandon,
yeah.
This is probably giving you ample information of exactly what's going on with the event in real time.
Awesome. So working inside the managed events report with our partners, being able to turn on and off certain data points. I know one of the key features or key areas we always talk about is in the reservations, that reservation per travel team. So from the report here, I've turned it on, and then I'm going to jump into what we would really bring up when we're talking about this metric. So I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to turn on a few more data points for us. And this would be like a common report that we would pull up when we're talking strategy with our clients each and every week, especially at that like peak registration timing. We turn on apply fields and we'd be able to bring up the data points that really kind of paint the picture, but that number one metric, Matt, it being that reservations per travel team.
Yeah, I think it's just such a great metric for any partner to have, and I find it a fascinating conversation. And just for us, reservations per traveling team is looking at the total traveling teams in the system off of that predefined distance that we've set, and then how many reservations, something we believe we can control. This means a lot of things. It factors every part. Is how strong is the technology, how great of hotel rates do we have, the right hotels. So I think it's one metric we've found here that everyone can be united on. And it's a fascinating thing that we can start with even new partners, right? And they can, we can set some fun goals with them, even if we're very low and we find out you guys were only averaging 1 or 2 reservations per traveling team. Let's strive for 3 or 4 this year, 5 or 6. Or you get into the stay and play and it's 12, 13.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a good benchmark that we can work off of to really help grow, make sure we're all united in doing the right areas of the system.
Totally agree. And I love that metric because I think it resonates with everybody. It's very easy to understand and explain, and it's easy to gauge kind of like, how am I doing towards the benchmark? So, I was on with a baseball client a couple weeks ago, and so inherently we all know there's probably about 12, on average, 12 players per team, and we looked at that reservation per travel team sitting around 4. And it immediately painted a picture for us that there's growth without even really us talking about a state of play policy.
Right.
And then we started strategizing on why was that number there and where do we want to get it. And we agreed on, let's say 6 next year. And these are the 3 things that we've identified. And one of them being a VIP club and another one being a compressed hotel market. And that's how we're gonna go out and change that for next year. And so going back to that reservation per travel team, it was so easy to kind of baseline ourselves, both understand where we're at, and then start to have that fun conversation of where we want to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was another client who was as quick to me. We were onboarding them, seeing their first events. 3 events were doing great. One was lower, it wasn't hitting our goal. Our team did reach outs for a week. They said, just by email, this event we're on now. We're going to do follow-ups on our side here. Not saying they have to, but we're all quick conversations, efficient conversations, trying to maximize room nights.
Yeah. And so, again, I think that's the power of that reservation per travel team. In this scenario, we're seeing that this one being 6.9, it's trending to where we want it to be. Sport type is going to have an impact here. But really, all sport types, we know we're aiming for that at least 8, right? Knowing the size of a team. And then these other ones that are a little lower, it gives us that insight to then look at the data on the left and see, okay, there is those unaccommodated travel teams, and this is how we're going to attack it.
Correct. Or you look into an event, we got a hockey championship, then we're going to baseball. Well, a baseball event, the teams maybe aren't formed yet, which is exactly what the case I bet you would be in here. So this event's in May, teams aren't formed. We're going to focus on getting the blocking percentage up, but we can't expect the participants to come through. So let's kind of cool our jets on that event and really narrow in on that hockey one where we can have our best revenue opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. We're always working with our clients on that reservation per travel team number. How do we continue to grow teams booking through the system? So when we're talking about that, what report do you like to see our accounts team and our event owners using?
Yeah, I would say there's 2 ways to look at this. And firstly, when we're bringing on new partners, they usually don't have access to any of this information. So they're used to getting the spreadsheet after. So at that time, it's probably keeping it pretty simple is let's look at how many traveling teams have come through from registration, knowing there's different times. We may have 5 traveling teams in, so that's why the reservations per traveling team's low, or the teams haven't formed. So there's a lot of things there. But the traveling teams, and truly I get down to how many room nights have been sold under paid reservations, and then your point, the reservations per traveling team. So we have that goal in mind is, hey team, we're here to help you grow. That's what we've promised. That's what we know we can do well at. And if we find out, let's get this up to that 7, 8 that we're accustomed to. So that's what I like to almost start with, because I know we can set some specific goals. How we get there is when I think I really see some great stuff happening with the account management team and their coordinators is let's dive into more specific reports that we can put on more information like what is our blocking percentage? And we can solve the more specific problems that maybe a lot of the teams are blocked, but teams haven't been formed. So what we have on here under registration would be, in my opinion, when we're getting deeper into it with the clients, getting them excited about all the access they have, because we can put on more things here is, okay, how many of these teams are accommodated? You know, there's going to be teams, let's face it, that you're going to exempt from this. You're allowing that to happen. That's okay, and that's where you can put on this report. How many of these teams are in blocks? So what we have on here under registrations, and then really putting on everything with the paid reservations. So you see how many nights per team. This, maybe we can show it here, Brandon. Yeah. This will give, again, we'll probably use this word a lot today, that good jumping off spot that we could dive right into. Let's go look at all those unaccommodated traveling teams and find out the reasons why or action that item right off of this page.
Amazing, amazing. So there's a couple of next steps to do from this page, and we'll jump into that. But you touched on a couple of important themes when explaining the report. So let's start with talking about our registration numbers. We see in this example here, these events are very healthy. They're big events. They're getting to be big events, all over 100 total teams. Now we know that the EventConnect system offers a registration platform at no cost to event owners, but speak to some of the partners that you've worked with through onboarding that for specific reasons, business reasons, valid reasons, they can't use the registration platform. How do we make sure that we still get the teams in the system?
Yeah, I think it's such an important benchmark, especially as we're training on our new clients, is we know we can really help you grow your revenue on the hotel side, even if you're not necessarily a stay and play, right? If we have that connectivity reg, that's our bread and butter. So your point, yes, we have an awesome registration platform. As we bring on clients that have their own proprietary reg systems, there's a lot of valued reasons of why they can't be on our reg. This is still a completely important metric. There's a client right now, we have a new API created with them. We need to keep making sure we're selling the hotel rooms, we're communicating our value, our customer service, the discounted rooms to those teams. And there's not just a link out there. Yes, we can still give the link. So this is a great, quick check and balances every week you do with this new client to make sure the API is coming through. We have an amazing development team. There's other teams that we have to partner here with. So it's just an easy point that we can help make sure that API is working well and the teams are coming through. So you get the right communication to the teams and families, as well as accurate reporting, i.e. reservations per traveling team.
Exactly. Yeah.
The third way here, it's a benchmark, and we know maybe we have to do what we call the upload process. They can't use our reg. We can't have that access to the API. We have a great team here that can help make sure we're uploading these teams in. So that's where we can confidently go back and say, hey, you were projecting 100 teams. We only have 20 in here. Let's close that net. Better conversations to help solve those problems, to help us get the best opportunity possible to sell the room nights.
Yeah, and that's such a great point at the end there about that third partner so they're not using our reg. We can't have an API connection, so our team will take on that job and uploading the teams in the system. And one of the reasons why that's such an important component to talk about is that's how important it is for teams to be in the system. And that's why all of our partners, regardless of what registration platform you use or what category you fall in that I just talked about, we can use that reservation per travel team metric because it's the same across the board for all of our partners.
Correct. And I think the proof's in the pudding. We have a couple of clients I can speak to that have had an uptake of 30% just because we had that connectivity. Correct. There's not just that link out there, and we had a way, honestly, even get our customer service information out there more so people knew the how, what's, and whens of how to do everything.
Yep, amazing. So that was the first theme I love that you touched on. The second theme was talking about the exempt travel team number, and that goes more towards our clients that are strict state of play events. Everyone's trying to increase that reservation per travel team. One of the strategies or tools in the toolbox is that state of play component or policy. And for the partners that do implement that, they even need some flexibility. And so flexibility is that exempt tool or tag. And so let's just jump into that. Like how does that help clients that either are or want to be a state of play? How does that feature work for them? How does it help them? And give us some more insight on that.
Well, I think that's where we're really wanting to give the client their control. We are the tool here to support them as good partners, is how we, I think, want to be as a company here. And with that exemption list, it's going to give you that accurate reporting. And I think our goal here is we want our tournaments to grow. We want you to be able to get that next team registration and continue to grow that way. We know the room nights will go hand in hand with that. But a simple thing there is, being able to exempt them. Let's make sure that team's not getting communication anymore. So they're not saying, I already have an agreement with the event owner and I'm still getting a message from EventConnect. No one wins there. So if we have these specific reports, it's allowing us to understand the why. I think of an example not too long ago is a tournament director exempted a bunch of teams that was all ended up being a big club. Well, let's now get into a strategy as you're working with our account manager. What if we took that club, and got ahead of them for next year? We know it was 30 teams coming from, I think it was a club out in California.
Yeah.
How do we take those and maybe, give them first access? Work with the account manager or the event owner, to say, let's go fill them in these 2 hotels or find out why they stayed at this hotel. Again, better data, better conversations to help keep and growing the room nights. Maybe not in year 1, but year 2, year 3, et cetera.
And that's exactly it. And that's how these reports are so powerful, to allowing our team to really be like an asset to the account manager, the event owner. It's so easy to see this stuff now, and say, hey, you know what? This is the only way we're actually going to grow your event next year, because your event's doing so well. But there is this 10%, and I've found kind of the one thing that if we did this, maybe we'd get it to 95% compliance type of thing. So, and I always talk to clients that are state of play as well. As it's my belief that there is going to be that 10 to 15% variance that, hey, teams have connections in the local area. Maybe their parents have Airbnbs, and to be an event owner that has good working relationships with their teams, which all of our event owners do, you got to have that variance, and you got to have that ability to opt some teams out.
You bet, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, from this report, something I love is the blue action items here, and what the blue data points are is that they're clickable data points that can get us right into that registration report. So again, how do we help our event owners grow that reservation per travel team? That unaccommodated travel team column. If we click on 168, this does so much work for us. This skips going into the event. This skips the event owner having to mine that data out. We jump right into the report that shows us the 168 travel teams, so teams over 80 miles that have not yet either reserved any rooms. So, as we scroll down here, we can see all the 0 out of 0, and it's great because these are the teams that we want to focus on next.
Yeah, it just creates that quick, efficient conversation of, hey, event owner, we're all looking at the same information. How do you want to go after these groups that have none? That should be our strategy for this week. Again, sorry to keep going back to it, but we're not waiting for a spreadsheet to come in next week to find out what are the unaccommodated or having trouble manipulating a report. I love, and I'd say it's been several years now, but not 8 years. I love how specific we've gotten with reports that we know our event owners are looking for.
Correct. And now our event owners can actually request special reports in the system as well. So these are the EventConnect top 5 or 6 reports that we know everybody uses. But if there is an event owner out there that's, hey, when I click on here, I need to see these specific data points, we can load that in and save that for them now. And I know that's been a big thing for some of our clients in creating efficiencies in their workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of a client right now, a new client. I'm like, hey, I love all the reports. I'm tired of, I don't need all that. I need to now see, I want everyone that has not booked a minimum of 10 reservations, and let's focus on only those specifics. And gosh, we could go on for all day about this event level.
Yeah.
But that's how easy that can be when you're really getting down to those last few reservations.
100%. And I know we're going to dive deeper into this in another feature video. But just to finish that out, this report and this workflow from that manage events page, and going back to where we started, this chat, this is like a regular workflow that we start with our partners in that onboarding phase, and then we really ramp up in our weekly calls with our account managers. And that's some of the feedback we get from our event owners of the visibility on the data, the quick and ease to navigate these reports, and then that customer support aspect from our account managers of pushing kind of the envelope on how to use the system. Sweet. Well, just to dial us back and kind of summarize this, getting back to that manage events page, any kind of last areas that you want to close us out on, Matt, or like to chat about?
Well, probably if you just bring up that select fields again there, Brandon, quickly, and we don't need to go through them all, but this is where, again, we're always here to support, and we all know that every partner is a little different. And there's different points that you need to jump in. So this is just where there's all that information, and I like to speak to how we're looking at the same areas. But we can get into, we've touched well on, I believe, registrations, paid reservations. You're seeing exactly how the hotels are performing, especially when we're bringing or renewing accounts. Is the RFP out there? There's that visibility that you don't have to be worried about it because you have that control to see, has EventConnect even sent out the RFP? Where do we stand with things? You're not left with that guessing game. I hear too many stories of new clients coming on. They're like, we just didn't know what was happening. We opened up registration. We were unfortunately told there was no hotel rooms because we didn't have that access point. So this is where I like to say we're teammates. We're in this together, and we're all able to see that information so we can keep pushing each other in the right direction. When we get further into here, there is the difference on the confirmed reservations. This is a part I love that got added on here. Not too long, as we can appreciate, we lead up to an event. We have all the room nights in there. You have that real-time access to see exactly what you can expect. We know there's usually a drop with someone not staying the Saturday night. This is all that reconciliation process. So again, money's important. Our event owners are needing this revenue for pay off their referees, their umpires, their facility cost. You have that clarity to know exactly how your revenue is performing post-event now too. I think that's a very important thing at a macro level, especially with these partners running multiple events.
Yeah, and that's a really awesome thing to touch on too for our partners that use these reports, weekly, daily. That confirmed hotels data point is so important because after events, it's 7 days post, and our event owner's like, okay, what's my confirmed revenue? And it does take some time for the hotels to put in their confirmed pickup. I think our average is like 7 to 10 days, which is fantastic. But for those ones that are dragging their feet a little, we know that it can take a little bit longer. So turning that data point on and saying like, I'm 50 out of 60 hotels confirmed, really give that transparency to the event owner of knowing exactly where they're at so many days post-event.
That's actually a great tip and trick because we're not here to scare our partners when all of a sudden they thought their revenue was $50,000 for the event and they go on 3 days later and see it's $10,000. Yeah. Please check on that confirmed hotels that's that reconciliation process. And I know we've had a couple partners kind of freak out quickly to you and I.
Yeah. A couple 10 o'clock calls being like, what happened to my revenue?
Yeah.
But
please put that on.
It's all good. Once we pull this up, those partners that didn't recognize it's there, they're actually very appreciative of the reporting of the two numbers. So seeing where you're at pre-event and then getting to track that in real time as we confirm the pickups is a really cool way to track that. And I think it's been able to provide better conversations post-event too of talking about canceled room nights. So there's a variety of reasons why an event might drop in room nights from pre to post. And these two data points have allowed us to uncover some of those, but also allow our partners to kind of deep dive on those reasons and make strategic decisions next year to curb those cancellations. So example being, we had a partner where they saw a huge drop off and they're like, okay, we need to deep dive this. And it was Saturday night cancellations. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to now next year make my schedule so it's either that last game's a little later in the day on Saturday, or even give everyone an extra game on Sunday. So we, in that conversation, not only enhanced the user experience by maybe adding more games, but then they did kind of protect their room night revenue that they kind of saw a decrease on the year before.
Yeah, it was not too long ago. The client was like, I ran a great tournament, great feedback, but I had people saying I was jamming the schedule too tight. I was putting 2 games, like, and I could increase my room night revenue when teams actually wanted to stay longer, enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
That was kind of an interesting thing. It was like, is better scheduling, which you could obviously do through us, and better hotel opportunity for pickup, less cancellation.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, not only does those data points just give our partners the ability to track their final revenue, it's really opened up some cool strategic conversations for us as well.
Absolutely. The other couple areas here, the affiliate reservations, that's the whole OTA side of the system that we can track those. If you have those last minute reservations coming through, the comp reservations, I think this is a whole deep training, very proud of what our company's created here and continues to evolve, listening to our partners on. But people need that clarity. This is you know it better than I do, a huge expense line for our clients. Having that visibility to know how many I could potentially earn, how many are assigned, especially when you might have other staff members doing this. I think this is a very important high-level roll-up, so you can manage your budget appropriately on the expense side.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And I think when we talk about comps, it's constantly evolving. We're constantly learning with our partners, so that's an area that I continue to be loud on with our partners. Of give us your feedback. How's it working? What are you feeling? And what are the different ways that we can continue to make it more efficient for you in the back office? So we've had some great feedback in the last 30, 60 days from clients of, there may be pain points or really the time-consuming parts of comps. We all know that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. So continuing to strategize on how we can use the technology to streamline those workflows.
Correct. Yeah, and the more you get like the financial staff members involved with this, yes, it's great to see the revenue, but I click on earned comp nights, and this is how many you've earned based off the ratio in real time. That's that expense line that they can quickly budget to know, hey, we continue to do this properly with EventConnect. We're going to take that money off and we can properly budget for this event. You're not left in the dark on this at all.
No. And to dive even a little deeper on that, we're using those 2 numbers internally to flag our partners on if their needs are exceeding what we're potentially going to earn. So we have some partners that have a large amount of umpire or referee rooms needed, and just based on comp ratios, we can tell them right away, hey, we're not going to be able to comp all those rooms. There's other strategies and ways to keep that cost down. One of them being like a staff net rate. And so we're able to use the data here and have those strategic conversations at the renewal or at the go live to make sure that we are doing everything we can to keep the cost of housing low, because we know that hotel rooms aren't necessarily the cheapest thing these days, and that can be a big line item in your budget if it's not managed correctly.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure. As we kind of go through, I'll just say this is where you kind of take a moment and appreciate how deep the system can go, and we're getting into the games and assignments. This is referring a lot more to our scheduling and scoring. I would say more partners than not, you have your person at your event level that's the scheduling guru. That's their bread and butter. They don't necessarily need to worry about registration that much, hotels as much. Their job is to put a great schedule together. But if you're the owner of that company overseeing the events, you're that tournament director, because you might have a volunteer or an intern doing your schedule, you want that clarity. We're 2 weeks away and there's no games scheduled yet. That's your pain point for the day, to jump in and talk to your scoring guy. Hey, what do you need still? Where's our gap? So that helps create to make sure, especially if you can have everything in one roof, which you technically can do with EventConnect.
100%. Yeah, and that just kind of speaks to the next tab there is the assignments, the referee assigning tool that is used by some partners on the platform, kind of hand in hand with our scheduling and scoring, but the ability to really, because it's all in the same place, very easily and quickly run a referee registration and assign games right through the system. And this report at a high level showing you how many referees or umpires you have registered and how many of them have been assigned. So
yeah. Then looking quickly, the quick links one that was one I remember when we had it. We obviously have it at the event level. You would tell the partner that is, yeah, you can go to the event level and find it. Well, Brandon, I got 600 events going on, or whatever it may be, even 25 events. I need a quick spot to find these links that I have teams wanting to register quick. Again, this gives you that quick access point to specific links that you're asked for all the time from your teams and families.
And this one's so awesome because we can just hit the download CSV button there, which actually I think important to mention as we've been working through this. Every time we toggle something, you can download that into a spreadsheet if needed. This is the report that I would encourage us to be downloading out into that spreadsheet. All the links are there, so it's so easy to be copying and pasting that out. If you're an event owner with multiple events, very awesome to have that and copy and paste on the website. But if it's just one event link that someone's asking for a hotel, again, very easy to get it there. These links are also awesome for event owners to use for all their social media posts. So if you're doing messaging about, hey, you're coming to the event, make sure you grab a hotel room. This is how you could grab a couple extra reservations, easily, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, if that public hotel listing link is on the website. So it's pretty cool how easy it is to get those links now.
And to your point, we have a lot of tournament directors. They're fantastic at organizing their events, but they're going to have someone doing their website. That's where they could download that report and make sure all the registration links from EventConnect are embedded on their websites.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was amazing. Working through all those different categories. As we showed today, there's so many different, custom reports is the best way to put it, that you can make. And we kind of went through each category, but as you can see, you might want a mix of certain data points through the different categories, and that's so easy to do there as well. And I know I mentioned while we were talking is the custom reports, but we do have the ability now to start saving these reports. So if there's if an event owner watching this and you're like, I spent so much time going into select fields and clicking these on, and it's always the same ones time over time, that's a great conversation to have with your account manager and something that we can work with our development team at saving at the event level here.
Yeah, I think it really is your jumping off spot. It's your macro view. We probably didn't even touch how you can go back to all your past events. That'll probably lead into your conversation later with John on kind of that year over year growth and how you can do those trends.
Yeah.
But as we say, this is the page, in my opinion, to bookmark, and you can take off from here.
Absolutely, 100% bookmark that page. You'll definitely hear me and Matt either call it that God's level view or macro level view of your organization. But it is a tool that we're very proud of, and we know that is really the starting point for organizations. When they start using the system, they go, wow, this does create the efficiencies that I was looking for to run my business day in and day out. So, well, Matt, really appreciate you joining me for a page that you and I are so passionate about, as we can tell, and look forward to continuing to work with our clients on using this page, but always looking for that next little feature add to this page as well.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks for the time.
Sweet. Thank you.